So we want the investors to know that Uganda is comfortable. Uganda is a good place to do business, and we have brought the people to make sure we comfort that. But also, if you've been following Uganda, you've noticed that over the last 2 years, His Excellency does not go anywhere without a business community. So as a private sector community, we've managed to make that connection with government that there is absolutely no presidential trip anywhere without a private sector contingent. So that's how much effort the country is putting into making sure that we create a business community. So this morning, and I'm also going to tell you 2 interesting stories that as a businessman in Uganda, I have actually gone through. And having left the UK in 2000 to go back home, I can tell you that it is the right place to do business. So I'd like to invite Madam Kadaga, please, to join us here, or would you rather stay where you are? Okay. I'd like to invite Honorable Betty. John, so Commissioner General, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ntege. My name, I think the time of introduction may be too brief, but let me acknowledge my leaders, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Excellencies, the ambassadors, the Lord Mayor, Your Worship, the Mayor, Honorable Ministers, leaders of the captains of industry, leaders of the different agencies of government, all the investors, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Musinguzi, and I serve as the Commissioner General of the Uganda Revenue Authority, the tax administration body.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, our High Commissioner, our host, the Mayor, members of the Cabinet. This is Zakayo here.
Looking for that name.
And the audience gathered here. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. My name is Rebecca Kadaga. To ensure that the treaty for the East African community is actualized. And this is, I'm in charge of the grouping of 7 countries, Burundi, the DRC, Kenya, Rwanda, Republic of Tanzania, South Sudan, and Uganda. So I have already informed you about the composition of the East African community. But being a Ugandan, I think I'll start by reminding you that Uganda is the pearl of Africa. It's the land of the source of the Nile, the land of the Rift Valley, the land of the Uganda Matters, the best national parks, and everything you can think of. So that is Uganda. Of course, there are more attractions in the region. Now, as I was saying, we have been able to do some work on the common market. We are trying very hard to ensure that our human resources are able to work and live in each of these countries. We still have challenges, especially on the professional level. It will not be very easy for one to go and practice in one of the other countries, but that's the area we're trying to work on to ensure that our people are able to go and work and live in the other countries. We are also working hard on the infrastructure, the common infrastructure. We have done quite a bit of the roads that link our countries on the southern corridor. We still have a challenge on the Kyotera, Masaka, Mutukula, Chaka Road, which takes us to Tanzania and Burundi. But we've done a very good work in creating a bypass between Tanzania and Kenya, where you can travel from Arusha, Kolili, Voi, Taveta to Mombasa. That's only 400 miles. But if you take the ordinary route from Arusha, Namanga, Nairobi to Mombasa, you drive almost 700 kilometers. So we've been able to cut that distance by creating a bypass. On the Uganda side, we have also created another bypass about to be completed from Kapchora to Som, Italy to Eldoret. Also shorten the distance between Uganda and the capital of Nairobi and the other cities. So we're also working throughout the region to improve on the infrastructure. On power, we have used the transboundary resources to generate power for our region. The Kadaga has been very, very instrumental in this transboundary resource. We have the Kadaga hydropower project, generating 14 megawatts, shared equally between Tanzania and Uganda, 7 each. Then on the Tanzania side, we have the Rusumo hydropower project, still on the Kadaga, which Rwanda and Tanzania are also generating electricity, also sharing. So we are working together to use the transboundary resources.
The first strategic sector is education, manufacturing, transportation, tourism, construction, healthcare and medical services, agriculture, ICT, logistics and warehousing. For these strategic sectors, there are different tax exemptions that the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament and the Parliament legislated and put into law. So it is guaranteed by law. As a tax collector, we really want to maximize revenue collection, and even if we wish to tax in these areas, the law prohibits us. So, and different exemptions are given in the Income Tax Act, in the Value Added Tax Act, on stamp duties, in excise duties, and then in the import duties. Now for the customs duties, the exemptions are not just for Uganda, but they are for the East African region. So what my leaders have alluded to, the Right Deputy Prime Minister and the Right Honourable Deputy Speaker, as if they were produced in those very countries. Now, the next area where the exemptions and incentives are now in the particular tax heads. And why I want to speak about certain tax heads, I know they are of interest to the Ugandan community here in the UK, but also to the investors from the UK who would want to invest in Uganda. One such area where we have generous exemptions is in the rental income. This is rental tax paid on income laid out of renting business or residential premises. For this, if you are an individual, any income made below the threshold of 2.82 Uganda million shillings, there is no tax. But anything in excess of 2.8 Uganda shillings is taxable at a rate of 12%. So the effective tax rate is 12%. And for companies which declare and file returns, you are allowed expenses of up to 50%. So 50% of your income from rentals, 50% will be allowed on expenses. They are, of course, they are verifiable expenses. And then what remains, you pay 30% on the balance. So that is one of the areas. Now, I spoke about exemptions in VAT. This is mainly deeming of VAT. So for strategic areas, like development of industrial parks, VAT is exempted on right from the stage of feasibility studies, designing, construction, and all the materials that you use in setting up the industrial park the VAT is deemed. Of course, there are a few conditions here. If you're a foreign investor, it is assumed that for an industrial park, you will not invest less than $50 million. But better still, if you are a citizen or you're in partnership, a citizen in partnership with a foreign investor, then the threshold for investment reduces to only $300,000 US. And if you want to invest outside Kampala, in other words, to promote creation of jobs and industries outside the city, the investment threshold even goes down further to $150 US. And the other requirement is that you use raw materials. So as long as the raw materials are available, up to 70% should be locally sourced. And also in terms of labor and employment, you employ at least 70%. Now, if you fulfill these requirements, then you will take advantage of 10-year. For VAT, it is exemption on all inputs when you are developing. But the next level of incentive is a tax holiday, which is 10-year holiday from paying income tax. So whatever amounts you make in this industrial park, you will be exempted from income tax and VAT as well. There is a further exemption in stamp duty, again for this kind of investment in the industrial parks or free zones, and this one is nil payment on all debenture, lease land, share capital transfers, land transfers, whatever attracts stamp duty will be exempted as long as you're investing in these industrial parks and free zones. The next exemptions, of course, I've already mentioned, the hospitality industry has exemptions. There the thresholds are much less, only $5 million, and for hotels, only $8 million, and a room number of at least 100 rooms. Again, you'll be exempted from stamp duty, from VAT, and income tax as well. I've already mentioned the exemptions in the industrial parks. In the interest of time, I'll just move. Yeah, but there are further exemptions even in customs duties. So, and I've already mentioned that the East African exemption, the customs duties, the exemptions are under the East African law, not just the Ugandan law. So for people importing raw materials made for exports, there is duty drawback. What this means, as long as you're going to export 80% of the products that you produce, you will be reimbursed the money that you spend at the for manufacturing of textiles. If you're bringing in raw materials or intermediary products, there is zero remission of duty. Again, this is at the East African level. For manufacture of motor tires, if you're bringing raw products like stranded wires, zero tax, duty remission. Inputs for manufacturing cells and batteries, zero tax, and so on and so forth. I'll make reference shortly where you can read this in detail. Tourism as well has a number of exemptions. Vehicles for tourism, buses, land cruisers, whatever it is, as long as it's for that sector, zero duty at import. Boats as well for the tourism sector. A number of other inputs for the manufacturing sector are all zero rated. We'll read this one later. But for zero import duty, you can also defer VAT. In other words, no VAT is paid at point of importation, but when you have set up your factory and you've made the money, then you can pay. Other exemptions are in the oil and gas sector and many other areas. What am I saying in conclusion? The government of Uganda is very deliberate, and with the support of the East African community, they've made investment in the region very, very attractive. Lots of tax exemptions, lots of administrative support when you're an investor. One-stop point for registration of your business. You find there the tax people to register you for tax. You find there the URSB to register your company. You find there Umeme people to connect you to power and so on. This is under the Investment Authority. Now, for all this information and more that I've not mentioned, you can get it on our website. Just go there. On the main page, you'll see a bolded header of incentives for investors, and you read all these different sections of the law. We are also available on all other channels of communication, Twitter, WhatsApp, email, and so on and so forth. And I will be glad to share this for your own reference later on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's something that came out in the last budget about microfinance loans being tax deductible. I'm excited about that. In terms of if you are running a business and you borrow from a microfinance institution, the interest is tax deductible.
That is very true. I had this somewhere, but in rushing I didn't mention. The number of expenses that are allowed under the income tax. One of those is, of course, the cost of sales, all the operating costs, the depreciation allowances, the industrial building deductions, assessed losses. We know that when you are setting up, you can incur losses. We allow losses up to 7 years where you're not paying. And then, of course, the investment capital, which is what is referring to. As long as you're servicing these cost centers, they are allowable expenses under our income tax law. Thank you.
Okay, and I wanted to say that because money is cheap here, and we want it over there, but usually we tend to expect money to come through the bigger banks. But what that tells us that money can now come through microfinance institutions, which are tier 4 institutions, which are not as heavily regulated as banks. So for those of you who might be wanting to look at the investment channel, there's another channel that is open that is actually have pretty high returns. Thank you, but we'll visit that later. Honorable Betty.
Thank you very much. I want to start by saying that for most of the investors, the economists will tell us that investment is informed by 4 key factors of production, which is land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So, as investors, when you make a decision to go to Uganda, you will be looking for labor, for sure. And so, looking for labor, you'll have to end up with me. Because the law empowers me to even categorize what type of labor you can bring from out of the country as experts or expertise, and categories of jobs that are only for Ugandans. So that's why it is very important that you understand our labor force. First, to let you know that Uganda is one of the most qualified labor force for investment in the country. I think Uganda labor force is the one that is driving East Africa. You find most of the Ugandans are working everywhere. We are externalizing labor now in most of the countries, in the Middle East, in the UK. We've been requested to externalize nurses and other caregivers in Germany and in Europe. And you know that most of the global structure of the economy now, especially in your developed world, because of the cost of labor, some of your factories and companies have to hire labor from outside to work for you. For instance, in the UK, most of the call centers are driven in India. So you're seated here, but those working for you are in India. Why? Because you want to avoid the cost of labor. So I'm here to assure you that in Uganda you will get abundant, cheap labor, labor that is innovative, labor that is most qualified, and labor that will drive your investment, and efficient labor. In the Mastercard studies, it's been confirmed that Uganda in the sub-Saharan Africa has one of the best English speakers in the world. Not just in the world. Everywhere you go, they will say, for Ugandans, we want them because they are very good English speakers. They are very efficient, they are very innovative. So we as a country will be able to support you in the labor, will be able to guide you in the context of the laws related to labor, what you require to get labor, the social security that you need to support the labor force. I'm glad the chairman of NSSF will speak much more here on our other arm of NSSF, which can also support you in the aspect of joint venture if you want to go into others and other products offered. But with the population we have, 70% of our population is between 0 to 35 years. This categorization of the population of Uganda are the population that will consume your product. That is why most of the companies that will go to invest in South Sudan, in DR Congo, in Rwanda, in Burundi, they will have an headquarters in Uganda because of the labor force that is that first of all has valuable contribution, efficient and qualified. So with the large working population age that we have, it increases the pool of labor that you will have. It will drive the economic growth of your investment and company. It will increase productivity. It will, for us as a country, support us in accumulating savings. Because once you have those that are employed, you support me in the saving of the country, because our saving for the workforce environment is compulsory. Once saving is increased in a country, it drives economic growth. It drives the country into the middle income economy, and it will support for me the employment of the youth that I look after. We will bring you fresh ideas. The energy will foster innovation and entrepreneurship, will increase and have consumer demand for your investment and fuel high productivity for your investment. So for me today, I'm here to tell you that if you want opportunities in the value chain for your investment, the labor force, come to Uganda. The laws are very friendly, the human resources are there, and will be able to support you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Honorable is my minister for my local business because I run a recruitment business, but what she hasn't told you is within East Africa, our Employment Act is the most employer-friendly act. So, and that I have on record because I've experienced it in the entire region.
Thank you very much. I prepared a very brief presentation. If you have it, Willa, you could kindly display it, just a few slides. So to add on what my co-speakers have said, Uganda is a democratic country that has robust institutions with separation of powers. The Inspectorate of Government is one of those institutions that is in place to offer checks and balances of what has been said. When all has been said and is done, then we come in to ensure that it is done in strict adherence to the laws of the country or policies that are in place. I know that I was asked to talk about the ratings that have over the years been provided by Transparency International. Mine is to demystify that, to tell you, to give you, to paint a picture for you on what is actually on the ground. The Inspectorate of Government is an independent institution that is a creation of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. We have a number of laws that operationalize the constitutional provisions. This independence means that we are not subjected to any control or supervision of any institution or government body. Our work is independent. What do? We investigate any instances of corruption that have been reported. We cause investigation if we suspect or if through the whistleblowers that come to us indicate that there is reason for us to look into something, then we cause investigation. We arrest if you're a government official or work for government or not directly working for government, or you have any way that you are misusing public funds, then we can arrest you or cause your arrest, and we can also prosecute you in the courts of law. So there are laws that have been enacted for this, and we have the Inspectorate of Government Act that we work with, the Leadership Code Act. If you're a leader, if you're a government leader that has assets or income, or your liabilities are not commensurate to your norms, Deputy Speaker is here in person and can attest to that. They have committees, oversight committees in Parliament that investigate issues of corruption that may arise. We have the police. I am not the police, but I equally have powers to even superintend over police, because policemen are public officers, so I look into what they're doing to ensure that it is in strict adherence to the rule of law. At other institutions, we work closely with other institutions and leaders that are here, but key to accountability institutions are what you hear is called the Public Procurement and Disposable of Assets Authority. It's an authority that deals with procurement in the country. We work with the Auditor General's office. Many times we have ordered for audits on organizations or institutions that we think that need to be investigated. Also, in addition, Uganda is a signatory to various international anti-corruption treaties. Key to that is the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, which outlines preventive measures, criminalization, and law enforcement. This has been domesticated in our laws. You may have heard the Dodd-Frank Act, United Nations Convention Against Corruption, where Uganda subscribes to this act, which is aimed at promoting transparency in the extractive industry. We have the African Union Conventions on Preventing and Combating Corruption, the East and Southern African Anti-Money Laundering Group, which helps to combat money laundering through coordination of other regional bodies that are in place. Let me now specifically tell you what the Inspectorate of Government does briefly. Promote and foster strict adherence to the rule of law in the extractive. Promote and foster strict law and principles of legislation. If you come to Uganda, systems are working. We have systems and policies in place. You don't have to to lead you to. If you go to the website, if you want to invest in Uganda, you know that you have to get in touch with the Uganda Investment Authority, and where guidelines are laid down on who you are supposed to contact. Sometimes we've had problems with people who try to use middlemen and they get problems, they get wrong people. Systems are functional. You just go to the particular office that is in charge or that where a service is required, and it shall be offered. Also, key to our function is to eliminate and foster the elimination of corruption, abuse of authority, and public office. to promote fair, efficient, and good governance in public offices, as well as to supervise the enforcement of the leadership code. In Uganda, we have a double mandate. Whereas we fight corruption, we are also the ombudsman of the country. The office I work for is the ombudsman of the country that creates relations between the public and the private sector. So if you're an investor coming to my country and you have a problem with any government official, then that's where we also come in. Also, I already elucidated on the investigative body or arm that we do. So we investigate any act that has been done by a government official, by a public official, any omission. Why, if you, for example, have requested for a license, but there are some delays that are not justifiable for you, then we come in to find out why there is that omission, advice, decision, or recommendation by any government official. So also, it's our role to stimulate or educate the public on what we do. Can I now just briefly talk about our strategy, because I see that you're looking at me and probably want me to stop at this point. But I will give you just a sneak peek of our strategy as the Inspectorate of Government and some of the interventions that we have done. As per our mandate that is constitutional, that I have already elucidated, this is also in our strategic plan that runs for a period of 5 years. Number one is to enhance prevention, detection, and elimination of corruption. How are we doing this? Spot checks. If you're an investor in Uganda and you set up your business, will appear at any one time to see if business is being conducted through the right channels, but also to have a picture of what exactly is happening. We go beyond the documentation that's just provided to ensure that our citizens are protected, but also that as an investor, there are no loopholes or roadblocks that you are encountering in getting to our offices. These are unannounced, we just appear. We conduct investigations in actions that have been reported, but also where we feel that we should come in, even if it has not been reported. To promote minimum standards of behavior and leaders' code of conduct. We have a lifestyle audit and guidelines have already been put in place. I explained this, that if you are a government official or if you are a leader in any capacity, but your lifestyle is suspicious, is not commensurate to what is known for you to earn, and that is one of the ways that we're using to combat and prevent corruption. So we follow through and conduct investigations. We register complaints and also collaboration with other agencies to ensure that our investors that are dealing directly with those institutions do not find any problem. And lastly, to increase stakeholder engagement for effective execution of the mandate. I have provided information on where you can find us. It's easy, I hope it will be displayed, but there are social media handles, the Inspectorate of Government. You can find us online, and we have a hotline that I also displayed where you can get information to us. The bottlenecks, one of the bottlenecks or the challenge that is caused by you investors yourself is bribery and extortion by purported agents and brokers appointed by investors. You appoint them yourselves because you don't want to go through the right channels and you find problems. Please use the right channels. There are offices or institutions that are established. So investors, you face demands whereby unscrupulous people ask for bribes or kickbacks from agents or brokers who purport to work for government officials during the process of obtaining licenses. That's a very key problem that we have encountered, or that the investors have reported to us, but we always encourage them to follow the right procedures. Avoid shortcuts and you will enjoy a conducive investment climate in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that is very critical that the government has moved into digitizing most of the processes. So, and most of the information that has been shared is digital. But I wanted to bring in Honorable General Gowa here, who is responsible for all our work permits. So just give us a...
Thank you very much, Mr. Ntege. Good morning, everyone. Allow me to ride on the protocol that has already been adopted. Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, ma'am. Right, so the question will be, you, Mr. Immigration, in all this business environment, what is your support to this environment? Because the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister has already expressed the various opportunities that are available in country. You've been told about the tax rebates that are also available. You've been talked about, again, the labor requirements, and of course, there I also come in, and you've told how government is also has in place a corruption enterprise that looks into those areas related to corruption. So what does immigration do? How will I support the business community to do the business that you're required to do? One, for the Ugandans, of course, you want your passports to be able to travel. And this we profess to make available. All you have to do is go on our website, which is www.immigration.go.ug to make your application for your passports. What we have done really is automated virtually all our processes for passport applications, for visa applications, work permit applications, citizenship, and certificates of residence. All our processes are automated. So you just have to go onto that website and you'll be served. Now, in particular to work permits, because I know this is really what you will need, more especially for those of you who intend to bring in workers from outside into Uganda to assist you in your operations. What are the various work permit classes that we have? Class B1, and as the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister has spoken about the need for manufacturing industries, agro-based industries. Here we're giving better promotions than the other than in the other sectors. So let's see, B1, this is work permits issued to persons or shareholders wishing to invest in agriculture and animal industries. And this goes for $2,500 US. But B2 is issued to persons or shareholders involved in agro-processing, and this goes for only $400. So that's a big climb down. Then you've got C1, issued to persons or shareholders involved in prospecting of minerals or mining, and this also goes for $2,500. But then you also have issued to C2, which is issued to shareholders of companies engaged in prospecting of minerals or mining of specific minerals, that is gold, copper, iron ore, that is silica, yes, phosphate, limestone, and marble. And this also goes for $400. And then you've got the D, issued to shareholders of companies engaged in general trade, which goes for $2,500. And then you have issued to shareholders of companies engaged in manufacturing, and this also goes for $400. And then you have the ordinary residents and the G3, also ordinary residents, that is also $400. And the G3 issued to expatriates with rare skills employed in agro-processing, manufacturing, and mining of selected minerals. This also goes for $400. So we decided that if you're going to attract investment, more especially in the manufacturing or agro-processing areas, you really need to come down with your prices. And this is what we have done. So for anybody who is interested in those particular areas, that is the price. But I also know that John is probably going to be looking into the other areas, because when you talked about the hotels, 100 rooms plus, you have some which are in the parks, and I know they are all, you know, freshly started, and a good number of them have only got about 30, 25 rooms. You may wish to think about those areas as well, as opposed to just the ones of 100 plus rooms. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I like it when we bring the public sector into private sector and they manage their time very well. Thank you so much. Now, as we conclude, for us to give a baseline for the investment conversation to continue, I think you have heard from all important key areas that you need to come into Uganda. And I want to go back to If I don't have any questions, I think we've covered most of the areas. Does anybody have a burning issue that you might want to share with us? We don't? Perfect. So panel has been perfect today. I'd like to go back to the panel and just ask them to... Sorry. There's one? Oh, great. Let me come to you. I hope the microphone can get there. Okay, so please introduce yourself and make the question brief.
My name is Sheila Nakiriza. I'm part of the school governor board, and we're always trying to see how we can help communities and families to prosper in our local communities. So I would like to ask that in regards to investing in Uganda and the laws that are made in favor for the employers, what are the laws that are there for the laborers? So like the wages, do we have ways to know what they should be earning for certain things and to ensure that employers are not abusive in their treatment of them?
Thank you. Any other question? Sorry.
Thank you very much. My name is Edwin Musime. I'm the Director General of Green Economy in East Africa and Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs Uganda. My major question, both on behalf of the world interested in investing in Uganda and to those of us that are still with very strong vested interest in Uganda, the question is, I just read somewhere where they were telling us London on Saturday is going to be hotter than usual, which is going to be about 33. Question, in all the investment conversation we're having, where are the green growth protocols going to come from in terms of building a more sustainability economy that is driving towards a net zero economy? If, I don't know on the panel who would be able to articulate that well, because it's very, very important right now, is given the backdrop of the climate change that is happening. Yes, we want the investment, but where are the green growth protocols? Where are the regulations to have a proper sustainability-driven economy moving forward? Thank you.
Great. I will push that to the panel, but I'm sure by the course of the day we'll have an answer for that one. I just want to clarify back, that was minimum wage? Was that the issue that we were asking about, Bain? The labor right. Okay.
Is there like a national standard for the laborers' rights so that they know what they should be earning or what employers are expected on how to treat the employees and stuff like that, so that from an ethical and moral obligation, is there the type of regulations around?
Great. As I take it to my line minister, I will also just respond to that one, since my business is about employment. Is the question of minimum wage has always been open, and I think the Honorable Minister will touch on it. But the rights are quite well for employees. Let me start with the Honorable Minister to respond to that one.
Thank you. We have first of all, as a global economy, Uganda is a signatory to the International Labour Convention, which stipulates key tenets of employment rights and obligations for both the employer and the employee. That international convention, which we are a partner and a signatory to, cascades to the Employment Act 2006, the Employment Amendment Act 2023, which stipulates the aspect within which you are supposed to include in the contractual obligation when employing someone. And in most of the international companies, most of those who will want your product outside Uganda will want a certification that the workers' rights are being obeyed. So under our Department of Labor, we will support the companies, the investors, to understand the labor law, to understand what is contained. Minimum, I don't want to say minimum wage because the minimum wage which we have is obsolete, about 1960 something. But in the Act, we have specification of what you need to provide. Provision of health care, which is mandatory, provision of wages, provision of insurance, and other provision, which within the international framework protects the rights of workers. The details, when you come, we will be able to give you, but to assure you that the rights of workers are fully covered under the Act. We have the policy, we have the guidelines, we have the regulation that will ensure that the minimum that a worker will receive will be able to cater for what the labor of a worker is worth. And the categorization of labor in terms of expertise, in terms of the category of workforce that the person will be engaged in. So please, we adhere to both the international labor laws and the Employment Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. Let me bring in just Latima here to talk about, you talked about insurance and medical insurance. The chief insurer is here.
Thank you, Badru. My name is Latima Mokasa. I am the board member of Private Sector Foundation and also the chairman of the Uganda Insurers Association. So medical insurance is it's in the private sector. It's the fastest growing, medical insurance right now in the private, in insurance is the fastest growing sector in insurance, which means the demand is there. But we're also fully aware that government is in the advanced stages of launching the National Health Scheme, National Health Insurance Scheme, which will involve all the entire population of Uganda. I think there are some details which government is still working on who will pay for it, who pays how much, and so on. But it's good to know that it's in the final stages. So the workers will be protected. But apart from that, there are several private, international providers of medical insurance, like Prudential Insurance, which is based here in Uganda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Latima. I want to go to, John, please, before I go to Honorable, please.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to add two brief comments on the issue of labor protection from the tax angle. In Uganda, we have a tax called pay as you earn. Pay as you earn is a progressive tax that exempts the lowest earners and increases progressively for the high earners. So for anybody in Uganda who earns 235,000 Uganda shillings per month, going downwards, no payment of tax. Now if you earn slightly higher, you pay 10%, I think up to about 335. If you earn up to 410, you pay 20%, up to 10 million, 30%, above 10 million, 40%. So in a way, that is to make sure that you only consider those who earn the least. But also a brief comment on the green economy, which Musime asked. Uganda has just passed a new law that exempts, effective 1st July, exempts import duties from all electric and hybrid cars. This is to promote the environment and promote use of effective energy. So if you want to bring a duty-free car to Uganda, please bring an electric one. You'll have it duty-free. But also, there is a ban on old cars. So any vehicle above 15 years, please don't bring it to Uganda. because it's contraband, it will not be allowed. But if the car is above 9 years, there is an environmental levy, and this is 100%. So you can bring an old vehicle 10 years, but be ready to pay an environmental levy over 100% of the value of that car. These are some of the tax initiatives to promote the green environment. Thank you.
Just to complement what has been said about the green economy, I want to confirm that under our stewardship, the Paris Agreement was enacted into our domestic law in 2021, and it's in force. It's under the sector of the Ministry of Water and Environment. Regulations are being prepared. A week ago, within Cabinet, we discussed the issue of carbon credits. So all these are being developed. Concerning the infrastructure, the buildings, they are under the charge of the Ministry of Housing, but they're equally enjoying to observe the green economy. So we are of course, don't be afraid to come. Thank you.
On that note, I really, more questions, okay. Let me take them. I'm going to borrow 5 more minutes because I was told that time, but we really need to get to hear the voice of the guests.
Thank you very much. My name is Denis from Promote Uganda. Honorable Minister of Gender, I'm glad that you are mentioning the externalization of the nursing services in Germany, but information is available that that service is highly demanded in this country, in Canada, and in the US. In addition, of course, to nurses, there is also a high demand for electricians, I know for instance in the US, and carpenters. Maybe you can throw some light on what your plans are. And of course the other question is, aren't we running a risk as a country of actually externalizing most of the skills that we need, particularly the nurses? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One more question. The last one I'm taking.
Hi, Ray Wilburn, East African Solutions. It's just a very quick one. I was hearing about the removal of import duty on electric vehicles. I guess maybe it doesn't quite make sense now because there's a lack of charging stations, but I guess that's a business opportunity for people sitting here possibly. I was wondering, does that extend to bodas as well? Because you've got just across the border in Rwanda, pretty much all of the bodas now are electric. So I was wondering if that extends to bodas, because again, that's possibly another big business opportunity for someone.
I will actually be selfish and answer that one. Yes, it does, and we have a mobility task force being actually led by the President's office, and we're doing a lot in terms of the conversion, which is why the opportunity for charging stations. Uganda has 3 million, 5 million borders, which need to be converted. So being I'm here, anybody who wants to invest, I can be the first one. You can find me somewhere, and then I won't be really, I'll just give them a commission. On that note, I want to really just ask if any of my panelists have any last words to say before we kick off the conversation of investing.
Can I answer his question on the externalization of labor?
Yes, please.
Yes, for the case of Canada and the UK for nurses and other labor issues, we are having a meeting tomorrow with some key stakeholders in the context of nurses. We are open to any other opportunities for labor externalization. And like I indicated earlier, the young population of Uganda, educated with degree, with all kinds of qualification, are over 4 million. In the context of nurses, we have both government and private training schools that have a pool of nurses that can be externalized. It is the doctors that we have a policy of not externalizing doctors. But for nurses, because we have a lot of the training institution, both private, we have an opening for externalization, and we are going to have that discussion. We have opened up discussion with Canada. We've also opened up discussion with the US, and they are partnering with us and starting to have training and capacity building. So we will be open to anybody who wants to have a partnership, because I know there are companies that also would want to partner, and they have employment opportunities here. If you're there, please reach out to us, and we'll be through our embassy or when we are here, and give us your contacts. But tomorrow I will be having a meeting with a team of stakeholders who are interested in externalizing labor here. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister, if I can carry your bags to that meeting, I'll be interested.
I know why you will be interested. I will get you.
Thank you.
To escort me tomorrow.
Please, thank you so much. I'm here to do business. I'm not sure I may have already started. Okay, let me ask my panelists to have a last few words, and then we can close the session.
Thank you very much. On the green economy, I just wanted to add that the pilot city for the first electricity charging terminal will be Jinja City. So Jinja is the place to go for that very soon. So you can really focus on that. Then I also wanted to inform you about the parish development model, where we expect a lot of production from the communities. So we shall also have value addition facilities in the parishes. So that's another area where you can invest. We have over thousands of parishes in Uganda. So you can choose where to invest depending on the productivity of what items in that area. That's another area that could help us to generate employment and other opportunities. But welcome to Uganda.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ntege. I think you helped me mention the borders. That was an oversight. They are covered just like motor vehicles. There's a discussion ongoing now about the inputs, because there are people who bring in raw materials for making electric components, like the electric batteries, as well as the charging stations. Not yet covered under the law, but before government for consideration, because the idea is to promote the green environment. Parting shots from me, I'd like to, first of all, appreciate the organizers of this great conference that brings together investors and citizens who want to invest in Uganda. I think this is the most appropriate time for this move, because the economy is growing, the inflation is well managed, it's very low, and the tax incentives. I think Uganda has one of the most generous tax incentives to attract investment. And for the last maybe 20 years, the foreign direct investment flowing into the country has been significant, between about $250 to $300 million. So I think there is a great opportunity for the UK companies that are known for quality, for standards, to come and invest in Uganda. There are very many investors coming, not necessarily from the UK. People even that have challenges with communication and language barriers are coming because they have identified the opportunity and they've embraced it. From the side of tax administration, we are available to support you and to help you understand and take advantage of the tax incentives, because the focus of revenue collection is on indirect taxes, not direct taxes, but indirect. So come and create jobs, produce products, then the country will collect taxes from those areas. For further information, please reach out on our website and all the contacts given so that you can get more information. And I'm also available up to the end of the day for any direct discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our dear listeners. Mine is to really emphasize that Uganda is the way to go for your investment plans. You will not regret it. But also to use this opportunity to give you our lines in case you are in the country and you feel that you are not being handled in the right way. We have a hotline +256 414 259 675. I repeat that.
We will actually put it on the screens during the course of the day.
Okay,
Yes.
That's it. And you can follow us on our social media handle at IGG Uganda. And the email, I'm told it will be displayed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want us to please give a hand clap for our panelists. We don't take it lightly that you come and give us your time. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'd like to hand over to...
Well, thank you very much. We've sat down for quite some time, so maybe on the green motorbike, border, I will ask you to just move around, network. We're having a coffee break for about 20 minutes, then we'll come back to our discussion. We'll be looking at some of the challenges and opportunities for delivering major infrastructure projects. We'll be having time with our legislators and, of course, question time as well. So for the next 20 minutes, network, have a coffee break, and we'll be back. Thank you.